You're listening to the Mile You're In podcast. Everything running related, from 100 meters to 100 miles. And now, here's your host, Phil Patterson Jr.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Mile You're In podcast. I know it's been 5 months or so since the last episode, and I truly, sincerely, and I apologize. That was not the plan. I know the way last year started out, I was being so consistent, and you could count on me, and then things just happened. But now I'm in a situation, some more changes have taken place and occurred, and I feel like now I have the opportunity to start recording more often. I don't know how consistently, so I don't want to make any promises or be held accountable, but I don't want to let y'all down. But I'll be honest, I do plan to get back into it more, and starting with today, where I want to take advantage of the unexpected downtime. And I say that because my son is sick, so I stayed home with him, and while he's doing his thing and he's quiet and resting, I wanted to squeeze in whatever time I can real quick to just touch on a topic that I wrote on a while back and wanted to record, and now I finally have the opportunity. So again, there may not be a consistency with this, maybe not right out of the gate, but I do plan to do more episodes more often like I was. So and because of that, I too want to thank those who continue to support the show on Patreon. And I even see that there's now new ways you can donate. I think through the I don't even know, is it still Spotify? Is it, I don't know. I think the name changed. It was Anchor. I don't even know. Like this, I've been gone for so long. Things have changed, and I'm trying to catch up with everything. But for those who continue to support the show, I really appreciate it. It keeps the podcast up. It keeps the website up. And speaking of that, I'm still coaching. So if you're interested in being coached, all the links are in the show notes. So check those out. But let me get right into it and not delay this any longer. I made the connection between life and oil changes. And I know people ask, how can an oil change possibly relate to anything in life? But I did the research. I explored examples and analogies, and I looked into how the simple act of maintaining your car can serve as a powerful metaphor for life, school, work, relationships, and sports. And when you think about the oil change process, every few thousand miles you take your car in to make sure it keeps running smoothly. And you shouldn't wait until the engine's smoking or making a weird noise or the check engine light comes on to think that, now it's time to go get that oil change. But just like with filling up your tank and getting gas, how many times and how often do we let ourselves run on empty? We hustle through the days without pausing to check on our mental, physical, and emotional well-being. I have a small oil leak in my engine. I've had it since I got the truck in 2015, and every time I go in to get an oil change, they're always reminding me. And it's like, yeah, I know, but it's maintainable. It's not major. As long as I do my oil changes regularly and check my oil level, I'm good. But life happens, and distractions happen, and you get lazy, and every once in a while, that warning comes up on my dashboard: engine oil low, stop truck immediately, something like that. And it's like, now I'm panicking and I'm freaking out, and I'm anxious and I'm stressed out. And after the first or second time, I realized, like, okay, you know what to do, but things happen in life where sometimes you don't do it. So at least be better prepared. So instead of scrambling, and now I'm like rushing to get to the closest gas station or the closest store to buy some more oil, and then have to put it in and clean my hands and do all this stuff and still make it to work on time, or pick my son up, or whatever it is that I'm trying to do, it's like, okay, buy some, keep it in your truck. So if you forget and this happens, you're better prepared, and you could just hop right out on the side of the road, put some in, and you're not scrambling trying to Google Maps the next closest store. And financially, it makes a huge difference, because I remember the one time I pulled in and went to get some oil, and the little quarts were the same price as what I was getting, like 3-5 quarts at the Walmart. And it's like, you can't keep going like this. But that's the thing. Regular health checks, regular health checkups, practicing self-care routines, whether it's meditation, exercise, or spending quality time with loved ones, those are like oil changes for your mind and body. And if you neglect them, small problems can turn into big issues down the road. So take those pauses daily, weekly, monthly, yearly to recharge. When I think about being Baker acted, there were so many times people up to that point for years tried to help me with my depression and offer advice and suggestions and tips and recommendations. And I looked into some, and some I didn't take seriously. And it got to the point where it got so bad that I was forced to go and get help. And that's the thing. When you put off the oil changes and the car issues, eventually gets to the point where it breaks down, and now you have to go. And now you're missing more time from work. You're spending more money at the mechanic. And it's like, if you had just did what you were supposed to do in the beginning, you would have avoided all this. It's kind of like another analogy with your teeth. If you don't take care of your teeth, that problem gets worse, and it costs more money when you get that root canal and all that other work done, where if you just went and found some time to get the cheaper cavity removed, you wouldn't have to go through all these other things. So it's just more and more connections that I made to this. And when you think about school, for students, getting an oil change is like staying on top of your assignments, your projects, and studying. You shouldn't wait until the night before the exam to start studying, but we're all guilty of it. We've all done it. Some of us still will do it after hearing this, because that's how things go. Interruptions, life happens, right? So when you think of homework and class preparation as preventative maintenance, like oil changes that prevent your car from breaking down, when you consistently review material, keep up with your assignments, ask questions in class to keep you from falling behind, that's when you maintain your academic performance regularly, and then exams and final projects don't feel like massive roadblocks anymore. They don't feel difficult. You don't stress out about them as much because you're better prepared and have the knowledge in the areas that you need to. When I think back in high school and all the times I goofed around and didn't take it seriously and ended up getting suspended from the wrestling team because my GPA had dropped below the 2.0 recommendation or requirement. I wish it was a recommendation, but that kind of woke me up like, hey, like your grades are too low and you're not going to graduate on time. So now it's night school and just taking classes that I honestly, when I took them my senior year, I'm like, how did I not pass this as a freshman or a sophomore? Like, this is easy. But you don't take it seriously. You don't stay on top of it. You slack and things become too much of a burden to catch up on. And while everyone else was chilling my senior year, I'm over here panicking and stressing out, trying to do all this other stuff while they're cruising towards graduation. And I think about work. We hustle every day. Some people work in 2-3 jobs. Some people working up to 80 plus hours a week. We often push ourselves to the limit thinking that we can run on empty forever, but we can't. And that's why taking vacation days and delegating tasks or simply unplugging for the weekend is the work equivalent of getting an oil change. Because without that time to refresh, you risk burning out. Your brain needs those moments of maintenance to keep you creative, focused, and productive. It's just like how your car can't run efficiently without fresh oil. And I remember me and some coworkers had talked about this, taking paid time off for mental health days, just to take a mental break. And a coworker was laughing at the thought of that. But from experience, when I was younger, I used to feel that way. I felt like using your PTO for anything other than a vacation was a waste or a physical issue. And now, especially since my Baker Act issue years ago, I've realized that it's very beneficial. It helps because we all know these weekends go by way too fast. And just this morning, knowing that, you know what, I don't have to rush through traffic to drop my son off and then get to work. And I'm not going to have to rush when I get out of work to go pick him up on time and get home and do all this stuff. Like, having an extra day to just relax mentally and physically is more beneficial than we realize, and at times we like to admit. And then when it comes to relationships, whether it's friends, family, or romantic partners, these also need regular oil changes. But instead of oil, that fluid is communication. That's what keeps that relationship running smoothly. So check in with your loved ones. Doing so is like that trip to the mechanic. You don't wait until something's broken to have a conversation, or you shouldn't. So just as you maintain your car, relationships need those regular check-ins to make sure everything's running smoothly. And this can mean spending quality time together, talking through small issues before they snowball into something huge, or just showing appreciation for one another with words of affirmation. It's all part of keeping the engine of your relationship well oiled. And the last example is sports. If you're an athlete or just someone who enjoys staying active, think of your body as a high performance machine. Just like a car's engine needs fresh oil to avoid seizing up, athletes need proper hydration and nutrition, and they need that recovery to stay at their best. And routines like stretching, rest days, ice baths, massages, active recovery, those are your body's versions of an oil change. And when you neglect them, you risk injury or burnout. Regular physical therapy, strength training, mental conditioning, those sessions are all forms of proactive maintenance, ensuring that you don't break down when you're needed the most, like during the big game or your race that you've been training for. And I think about when I was early in my running years, and I felt like running streaks was impressive and what you had to do, and if you didn't do it, you were weak. And I was going, I remember at one point I got into the 50 something days, and there was one day it was lightning, like the storm was crazy, and I was like, I still got to get my run out. I got to keep this streak going. And it wasn't until it wasn't on that streak, but somewhere around that time, because I was so obsessed and that addictive personality kicked in, and I was sticking to these numbers that were adding up, that I got hurt. I had an overuse injury, and it sidelined me for 3 weeks. And it was in that moment that I was looking at the irony of it, that I had worked so hard to get this streak going of all these days in a row without missing a run. And now here it is. I have a new streak that I'm forced to take where I can't run. All that basically was for nothing, because everything that I was also training up to now took a step back, and I was going to have to start over in those areas. So whether it's life, school, work, relationships, sports, the lesson is the same, and it's simple. Don't wait until things break down to take care of them. An oil change may seem like a small inconvenience at the time, but it prevents much bigger issues down the road. So ask yourself today, what part of my life needs an oil change? Maybe it's my body, maybe it's my relationships, maybe it's my workload. Whatever it is, take some time to maintain it before it turns into something you can't control.
Thanks for listening to the Mile You're In podcast. If you enjoyed it, make sure to like, share, and subscribe.